Hi everyone, my name is Tanya and I'm from Shapes and Sounds. In this series, we're going to listen to Asian mental health practitioners and how they came to Australia as international students. So they bring a unique mix of lived experience and professional insight. And we hope that by sharing their stories, you get to listen to all their ups and downs, the lessons they've learned along the way, and find a sense of comfort and encouragement and know that there's a whole community of people who are going through the exact same thing. So without further ado, here is Ethan, Natcha, Sian, and Sanchana.
Well, first of all, my name is Tong or Ethan. I was born and raised in Malaysia, and I came here to study in Melbourne when I was 17 years old. So I had to live in a student accommodation when I first came here as part of my visa requirements for people under 18. I was living at this student accommodation called Palmerston House when I was studying here in Melbourne.
Yeah, so my name is Natcha. I moved to Melbourne from Thailand when I was 16 years old to attend a boarding school. And then once I finished school at 18, I went to uni to study psychology. And at the time, I stayed in an on-campus residential college. And then after that, I moved out to share an apartment with a friend.
My name is Shanley, and I have been staying or studying in Australia for 10 years. I moved from Xiamen, Fujian, to Melbourne when I was 17 years old. I studied with a foundation year at Trinity College, then went to do a Bachelor of Science at the University of Melbourne, and later completed my honours in psychology at Swinburne. I already knew I was interested in psychology during my time at Trinity. I remember thinking how meaningful it would be to become a psychologist. Even though I also knew the pathway was long and really competitive, but I stuck with it. And I was lucky to be accepted into the 4+2 pathway, which is already retired now. But yeah, I just recently completed it. In terms of my living situation, I initially stayed in a homestay and then moved to in a student accommodation and then moved to share an apartment with another international student. So that's quite moving from one place to another. I feel really grateful that I met some really lovely friends during my time in homestay and student housing. They helped me make the transition feels less lonely.
I moved here in 2005, so 20 years ago now, and I was 21 at that time. I moved from Mumbai in India and came here to study at Western Sydney University to do a postgraduate in psychology. I started out with a postgraduate diploma because I had to do my fourth year. Because in India it's a 3-year undergrad. So I had to do my fourth year with the plan to get into masters. In my first week, I stayed with some very, very, very distant family friends just for that first week, and they helped me find accommodation close enough to university in a house share with a professional. There was a professional couple who owned that house, and they were renting out a couple of their rooms. So I was one of the students in one of the rooms, and then later on there was another international student from China who came and used the other room.
The thing that stood out to me the most was how much I had to get used to the food here and and especially around food preparation as well. So if you're like me and you had your family cook you every meal, you'll quickly realize how cooking is so important in terms of like your health and managing your finances, and also a way for you to really get a taste of home as well, especially when sometimes food can get quite expensive. So I had to learn how to cook from scratch, like learning how to slice an onion without bawling my eyes out. Or how to pan fry a chicken breast for it to be fully cooked and actually taste edible. That was a big of a challenge for me. So I think what helped me a lot was YouTube. YouTube has been my best friend in terms of teaching me how to cook. Um, the resources are at your fingertips.
It's gonna be a bit funny, but like I really struggle with the small talk here. Like nobody prepared me for that. The small talk here is really different. Like, how are you? Did you do much this weekend? What have you got plans this weekend? Like we do ask that in Thailand sometimes, but usually with just friends or acquaintances. Like you don't get asked that just buying something from the shops or like at Woolies. And yeah, when I first moved here, I'm like, okay, so when the shopkeeper asks me, how are you? Do I answer honestly, or is it just like, good, thank you? And when they ask me about my weekend plans, do I just say, oh, not much? Or like, do I have to tell the details of my weekend to this like random middle-aged man, you know? Um, so yeah, I think it took me a few weeks to figure out that when they ask, how are you, it actually meant just hello. And when they ask you about your weekend, you just say good or bad. You don't need to like give a detailed response. Um, and I think that really speaks volume about like the little like cultural difference moments that no one kind of prepared you for. Like I prepared my English. I studied a lot of English before I moved here. But yeah, I like no one prepped me about the small talk. I think in Thailand, the small talk is about food mostly, not about the weather or your weekend plans. I think just like to keep an open mind and just to observe what other people did. And over time, that just kind of helped me understand like what are the cultural norms here or what is normal here a bit more. So that was just like a funny first impression that I remembered. When I started uni, I think my impression that I got was, all right, I've got to actually put in an effort to make friends. So how universities work in Thailand is the courses are much smaller. So you've got like a built-in friendship group within the course that you're studying. But here, the uni courses are huge. So unless you are a part of a residential college or you join a club or you go to like a sports or dance class or something every week, it's actually really hard to make friends. And what I saw with my friends in Thailand going to uni at the same time is if you're studying the same course, it's like assume that you're automatically friends. Whereas here, you actually have to put in that effort and schedule things and ask people to catch up. Um, so in a way, I felt really fortunate that I stayed in like a student accommodation. I think that actually helped me a lot in branching out and kind of like finding my feet at uni.
When I first arrived, I was really excited about studying here. I feel genuinely happy to finally have the freedom to choose subjects I was interested in. My foundation year at Trinity was honestly one of the happiest learning experience I ever have. The teacher were incredibly kind and supported, and we had a chance to explore a wide range of subjects, such as drama. I feel quite welcome in my home state, but there were also moments of kind of feeling a bit lonely, especially when I had difficulties getting along with housemates. Sometimes language wasn't a major issue for me because I have always been eager to try, and people were generally pretty patient. I actually like the weather in Melbourne, so I'm really lucky. I don't experience hay fever, but a lot of my friends I do, and I'm pretty flexible with food. So I was happy to eat whatever was available. So bread, weird soup, anything like that. Transportation took some time for me to get used to it, because buses and trains could be delayed or even go on strike, which was very new to me back then. But I also enjoy looking out at scenery while traveling.
Initially, I think I was very excited to come here, but I think upon coming here, I think one of the first things I noticed coming from Mumbai was that where are all the people here? It was just so, particularly having like lived in suburban Sydney then, it was just very empty. It was actually quite isolating. And that, I think that hit me at the start. I don't think I expected to feel homesick, but I realized I ended up feeling quite homesick within those first few weeks. And also realizing just how bad public transport was at the time, particularly in the suburbs, because I was used to catching public transport in Mumbai, and it's not the fanciest, but it was definitely reliable. It was running, pretty much 24/7. You could catch public transport whenever. Yeah, and so those were the things I think that really surprised me and hit me. Those things took a while to adjust to, and then also university itself. I went from back in India going 6 days a week to university to going like barely, a few hours a week. And then because of that, you probably didn't get to see people as much as well. So in that context, I think that was also quite hard at the start. Two positive things out of that were, one, there was another international student who was also doing from Japan who was doing a postgrad diploma, and we had a couple of units in common, and ended up in the same research project group. So that was really good. And then in one of my units, there was another domestic student who, I think when she found out that I was here without any family or friends, she she kind of took me under her wing, and even to this day, 20 years later, we're still really good friends. So I think those were the two saving graces at the start, I think. But otherwise, it just like things were just not what I expected, I suppose, or what I was used to. Those are the two things that probably helped me feel a little bit more comfortable. And I think I also found, when was it? Maybe 2 months in or 6 weeks in, I was lucky enough to find a job at the university library. It was only for 6 hours a week, but I found that job and it was like, okay, it gave me something to do. So I think that helped a little bit, and to feel like I was also earning a little bit of money.
I think one key challenge that I had was struggling to find my community here in Australia because I identify as part of the LGBTQIA plus community and the Asian community. It's not easy finding people who you can especially click with in such a small community, especially when you're staying at a foreign country with very different societal expectations as well. You may find it like you are often trying to figure out yourself at the same time, where you sit with everything and whether you have similar interests with them as well. And with that, I found it quite hard to find my people.
I think a main challenge for me, it's more of an abstract one, but I would say it was the expectation I had placed on myself. Because for me to be here in Australia, it's a huge financial and emotional sacrifice for my family and for me as well. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to like succeed in every way. Like, oh, I need to do well academically and like socially as well. That expectation made me feel like I was constantly chasing my own tails. Like no matter how much I was doing, it wasn't enough.
One challenge that really stood out for me was time management, to which I still struggle now. Back in my bachelor year, I would often stay up the entire night, sometimes even several nights, trying to cram for assignments or exam just a few days before they were due. It wasn't that I was out partying or being distracted by part-time work. I'm actually quite introverted and tend to stay at home quite a lot or library quite a lot. But I still found myself constantly rushing through things at the last minute and blaming myself for not starting earlier. Looking back, I realized a big part of that struggle comes from difficulties with task initiations and planning. So there are traits that are quite consistent with ADHD. I haven't received a formal diagnosis, but I have since recognized that I have ADHD-like traits, like trouble starting tasks, organizing my workload, and staying focused for a period of the time. It was especially hard adjusting from the more structured education system back in China, where teacher keeps a close eyes on your progress and there's a really clear schedule with nightly or daily homework. In Australia, especially at university, we are expected to be much more independent, managing our schedule, planning ahead for assignment, balancing study with life tasks like cooking, moving house, or budgeting. So in second and third year of the bachelor study, I really struggled. There was increasing pressure to maintain high grades, especially if you want to get into honors year for further study. But I found it hard to keep up without proper system in place. It wasn't until later when I received more one-on-one support during my honor year for the research project or during the 4+2 internship that I learned how much these challenges were related to executive functioning and not just like laziness like I used to tell myself.
I think the biggest thing was connecting with people. I think that was the hardest challenge, because, so like I said, where I was living at the time, it was with this professional couple and this other student. And they all kept to themselves. And I think I had come with preconceived notions about what it is like to live out of home with uni as well. Not seeing the same people necessarily all the time, except for the two people I mentioned. I didn't see the same people, or it was like huge classes. Yeah, you didn't have that sort of ability to, I guess, see someone every day, I suppose. So yeah, so you're seeing someone maybe every week, but it's very different. And as a result of that, it takes time to build those networks. The connection was probably my biggest challenge at the start.
I found the loneliness that comes with, I guess, trying to find your community here incredibly hard to cope with back then. Isolation has significant impacts on your mental well-being, and the effects can spill into other parts of your life, such as your education, your physical health. Often you find yourself in your bedroom uh, and doing things to cope with that situation. So it definitely had a lot of impact on both my mental and physical health.
I was quite like perfectionistic in the way I was doing things. Like it wasn't enough that I would get an H2A or I mean that's Melbourne Uni grading system. So that's like one below the top one. I was like, but why didn't I get the top one? Or if I see like my friends in Thailand always doing things in big groups, because that's the culture there, then I would feel like, oh, why aren't I doing the same here? Like I have friends, but do I not have enough friends? Or do I not initiate things enough with my friends to go out? And yeah, I think when you're an international student, it's really easy to compare, like, oh, how easy would it have been if I had just stayed home and I didn't have to try so hard, or things were just there and ready and I didn't have to build things up from scratch. Um, so yeah, I would say like that constant comparison was the impact on my well-being, and like constant judgment of how well I was doing. I remember seeing a site like the uni one, the one that you could go to for free through uni on and off throughout uni. Um, and every time I went, he just kind of pointed out that like you're doing fine. Like this is all kind of in your head. It was like cognitive restructuring, right? Definitely, like I was always like, oh, what more could I be doing? Like I remember that was like a constant thing throughout uni for me.
The time management challenge really affected my health, well-being, both physically and emotionally. So it becomes a negative cycle. After I staying out all night to cram for assignment, I will feel completely drained the next day. Not just tired, but also feeling a bit disconnected from the content I was supposed to be learning. It became more about getting through it rather than actually understanding things or enjoying what I was studying. I also feel really ashamed because my mom used to say something like that. You only start digging the toilet when you are already desperate to go. And that describes my habits perfectly. I will leave things until the last minute, crash through the work overnight, and then be so exhausted that I need to nap during the day. But because I napped, I will miss lecture or fall behind the other study tasks, which then led to another last minute rush. It became a really unhealthy cycle. It also affected my confidence a lot. In psychology, you need really, I keep saying that, but you need really high grades, like an H1 above, to even have a chance of progressing into on a year or becoming a register. And even though I truly love the subject, I keep doubting whether I was good enough or organized enough to continue. In my final year, I started questioning everything. Whether I was wasting my parents' time and money, whether I was wasting my time and money, and whether I was chasing a dream I wasn't capable of achieving. The self-doubt was really heavy and it definitely impacted my mood and motivation.
First 3 months were probably the hardest because yeah, I think yeah, like so that's what fueled the homesickness a lot more. I think I was coping that way, overeating, sleeping a lot. Um, I think yeah, like that, that's probably the way it negatively impacted those things. And I think yeah, like I would still email family and stuff and friends back in India, just talk about yeah, like it is hard, I would say. But I think, yeah, like, I think I didn't want to say too much either because I didn't want them to worry about me. So I think it was also partly just trying to push through a little bit, while coping in these very unhelpful ways at the time.
I think one of the strengths that I have had since I was young was that I was really into playing video games. As much as our parents complain about us playing a lot of video games, it's what helped, especially me, to escape when I needed to. And it was also the way for me to connect with friends back in Malaysia as well, especially when I still struggled with making friends here, understanding what it is for me to be here and to really, I guess, be present. Of course, there's a delicate balance to be held when you are gaming a lot as well. So that was also something that I had to juggle with when it came to like my studies, my gaming, and also um, building that connection in Australia. Time management is a crucial thing, right? So I think for me, when I started realizing that my gaming is also impacting uh, my studies and my physical health, I made sure to block out times for when when I'm playing games, when I'm exercising, and when I'm also studying as well. I journal too. So I think that helped me with planning things out and how I can manage my time better. And I think if you have friends who can also who help keep you accountable as well, that usually helps. You can also have phone apps and stuff that kind of prompt you to say, okay, this is a good time for you to step off, go touch some grass, and make food when you need to. For me, I was encouraging myself and constantly reminding myself that I'm doing things that are good for me in the long run. It took a while for me to understand that, but as long as you're trying and you keep reminding yourself that, it will come to you naturally, eventually.
This one actually came out of a conversation I had with a friend back in Thailand. And we were talking about like the difference between hope and expectation. So I think when you make some sort of huge investment in your future, like moving overseas to study, it's only normal to imagine how your life would look like. But hoping for a good experience is more open-ended and allowing for mistakes, for unexpected things to happen. Whereas if you have fixed expectations, I feel like that can lead to disappointment or resentment or feeling like you're not doing well enough, right? So yeah, I feel that once I gradually shifted my thinking to be more open-ended, I became like kinder to myself and I was able to enjoy my life here more through the ups and downs of it all. I think I thought of it like, uh, if I have any goals or like expectations or hopes for my life here, I want to treat it like a travel itinerary. So, when you go travel, you might have a rough idea, like on this day I will go here or I will stay at this hotel. But you allow for like new things to happen, unexpected things to happen as well. So, for example, I might have some personal goals or vision or things I want to achieve, but I think if you see studying overseas as an adventure and like just be open to new, weird, wonderful, unexpected things, and also to be okay with the fact that sometimes things don't happen as you expected, but it's all part of your journey. I feel like that helps a lot.
When things feel really difficult, one of the most helpful things for me was exercise, especially weightlifting and sometimes martial arts. I have always experienced a lot of anxiety, and it often feels like the energy gets trapped in my body. So movement helps me release that stress in a really direct and empowering way. Weightlifting in particular helped me build confidence. I noticed how much it mattered whether I believe I could live a certain way. So often that belief alone made a difference. It really taught me the connection between mental and physical strengths and how important it is to trust myself. So sometimes even the weight is really heavy. If I believe in myself, I actually can lift it. I also love the sense of community. At one point, I was going regularly to a local gym and it became a really positive environment where I could connect with others and feeling supported in a non-academic space. So everyone say hi when we are meeting up in the space and we get to know each other. So that was a really nice environment. I have tried counseling before, But to be honest, it is really expensive. I would even say that as a registered psych, it is expensive. But we do have support from the university as well, which is for free. Um, let's say once I enter the 4+2 internship, regular supervision, so one-on-one supervision with my supervisor became a huge source of support. Having someone who understands the system and believe in me made such a great difference throughout that stage.
When I look back now, again, my initial coping strategies were very avoidant. And, so that's sort of like, oh, let's just sleep. I was really good at that somehow at uni. If I was stressed, I would sleep. It doesn't work that way for me anymore. But yeah, so I think rather than being that avoidant state, it was okay, fine, let's actually take action, because what is it that you can do? What can you control in this? And that was okay, let's just change the environment, because that's the thing that seems to be getting you down. Because yeah, like the few times when when I was at uni, when I was in the classes, when I was connecting with the few people, even if it wasn't long periods of time, I found I was okay in those moments. So it was, yeah, so I just needed to change where I was living, I think. I started to look for other accommodation. I was like, okay, this is not working out. Maybe I need to live with people who are my age or younger. In the end, I actually found accommodation on campus, and I figured, okay, maybe that is probably the best thing, because there's going to be a lot of other students as well around me. And yeah, and I moved over Easter that year. The first day I moved, I slept the best that I've ever slept. So when I woke up on the Sunday, it was like, oh my God, like this feels nice, listening to people pottering around and talking. And
I think one part of, I guess, my move that felt meaningful to me was learning more about myself as an individual and how I can fit into the collective, right? Um, so for me, because I was learning a lot about my sexual identity and what it means to me and what it means to my community, it really helped me to take a step back and assess what's really important for me. I think I learned a lot about my values and what I want to achieve um, from that experience. And I think that made my journey quite meaningful. And I think being here in Australia helped me to grow a lot more than I think if I was back in Malaysia.
I think a part of my international student experience that was really worthwhile was not a single moment, but it's like lots of little moments throughout the years. But with the people that I've met here, like I love how multicultural Australia is, especially a city like Melbourne. Because I feel like I've learned so much about other countries and other cultures, like not just Aussie cultures, but because throughout uni, I met people from all over the world, and sometimes you might disagree on certain things due to a cultural clash, but I think that helped to kind of open our eyes to accept other perspectives as valid, even though you might not necessarily adopt that point of view yourself. I think like overall studying overseas as an international student, I think it was like one of the best decisions of my life. Like it was a really enriching experience overall.
Looking back, I think one of the most meaningful parts of my move to Australia was the people I met, especially the one that inspired me and made me want to grow. I have learned how important it is to surround myself with people I genuinely admire and feel safe around. So people who reflect the kind of person I hope to become. I remember a biology teacher from my foundation year. I have forgotten her name now, but I will never forget how passionate she was about her work. I also remember a senior psychology student I worked with in a group project during the third year. Seeing how much they both loved what they were doing left a strong impression on me. So during the times when I feel like, oh, I just want to give up or doubt whether I could become a psychologist, I would think back on them. They remind me that it's possible to enjoy what you do and that I want to become someone live with that kind of passion. One of my peers also played a huge role. I was really hesitant about pursuing the 4+2 pathway, but she really encouraged me. She said she could see the strengths in me that I couldn't see in myself at that time, and that I had the qualities of being a good psychologist. So we ended up joining the 4+2 pathway together. And I have always been really grateful for her support. So I will say the most valuable part of this journey has been the relationship I built, the role models who inspire me, and the friends who lift me up when I couldn't do it alone.
I feel like that whole thing just taught me that I can be quite resilient, I think, because, in a way, I had to juggle, which I'm sure a lot of international students, by the way, do. It's that, you move to a whole country, you don't know anybody. So you have to learn to connect with people and make new friends, but also learn to live as an adult. I've never lived out of home. I'd never, like I had to set up a bank account. I had to do all those things here. Um, so yeah, so learning those things while studying and working as well. So again, that wasn't something I had done as much in India. When I worked, it would be in the summer break usually. So yeah, so here it was like, oh, you're studying and you're working. I guess it also taught me just how important connections are, I think. So my friend who is a domestic student, Christine, knowing that I had no one here, she invited me home with her family for Easter that year. She invited me for Christmas that year, which then also gave me that experience of just being with a family as well. And I think it made me miss home less.
I think the advice that I would give to my younger self would be to not be afraid to seek help. Looking back, I realized that I've spent a lot of time ruminating on how I could support myself instead of seeking other people. Especially, I was a psychology student, and I think I had a lot of pre-notions that I can handle all of this with the knowledge that I've learned. But I guess we need to understand that we benefit greatly from connecting with others, and we can't always do it by ourselves. We're social creatures. Yeah, I sought help from a psychologist and psychiatrist, and that led me to build capacity to work on creating wonderful connections with new friends. And that's how I managed to find my family here in Australia.
Going to plagiarize this advice from like someone actually told me this when I just came here. It was a family friend who was already studying here, and he said something along the lines of like when you go to experience another culture, you take the part that is good, but you also keep the part of yourself that is good as well. Like I feel like that's a huge emphasis on cultural assimilation, but to stay true to your identity. Like you don't need to give up everything and just adopt everything new that you've learned. But it's good to stay true to yourself as well and to your roots while experiencing new things. Like it doesn't have to be either or.
To the international student coming in and to myself, if I can go back in time, I would tell myself or you guys, you're never not good enough. You are just someone who needs a bit more support if you're struggling, and that's completely okay. I know to everyone, or most of people always try their best, and I'm really proud of myself and you guys. So this is more for myself. I know you don't hear that quite a lot, but I want you to know it's true. I see how hard you're working to figure things out, even when you are abroad alone by yourself or feel like you are doing this alone. If you are struggling, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you need more support from the environment around you, and you absolutely deserve that support. So please don't blame yourself for not being perfect, organized, or always rushing. Those are skills, not personal flaws, and they can be learned. So even now, 10 years later, I still struggle with it sometimes, but I have found strategy and I have help from supervisor and from the people around me. And you are absolutely capable of getting to where you want to be.
The only advice I would say is, yeah, be kind to yourself. It's hard, and it's okay that it is hard. Because yeah, if I could go back to my younger self as well, I would sort of say to be kind to myself, because I think in some ways I thought I was failing by not coping. But it is like, it is hard, and it's okay that it's hard, and you can still do it, I think. And it's okay to miss family. It's okay to just yeah, like to struggle occasionally, and to acknowledge that, and to share that perhaps as well with people rather than hiding it. And yeah, just being kind to yourself, and learn from my mistakes and don't avoid. That's all.
I guess if if you find interests very important to you, like having similar interests, I would definitely look for interest groups out there online. So, for example, I like gaming. I love board games. You can look at, um, so in Melbourne here, we have Fortress. So they do a lot of events. I think that's a pretty good place to sort of find people out there. They do, I think, monthly sort of D&D foundations. And I guess if you aren't too fussy about like having similar interests, you can reach out to, I guess, local peer support groups in the area. For example, Headspace is really good for that. They have peer support workers. You can also get connected to counselor, psychologist, social worker. And if you're 25 years old and above, and if you live out, I guess, further in the suburbs, like Melton, for example, you can access the locals for the walk-in peer mental health support services. There's usually a community there that you can connect with as well.
I think if you're in uni or any sort of institutions, like they always have programs to support their students, and some of them might be advertised or targeted towards international students specifically. But there are a lot of programs as well that are just for students, like domestic and international, and don't feel confined to like, oh, I only need to go to things that are just for international students. You can go to any of them. Um, One thing that I found so helpful was this is going to be so nerdy, like how to use the library. Like Melbourne Uni had that. And I think in the first few weeks of uni, I really struggled to do academic writing and like academic research. And they just had a series of classes in the library back then where they taught you how to work out the library system and how to do citations. And that was so helpful.
One resource I wish I use more as an international student is a university counseling service. So even it's not perfect for everyone, it can be really helpful starting point, and it's usually free for students. With a counselor helps at university, I do think that you can get some supports, like really practical academic support, like special considerations or extra times or exams. And I would say that you definitely worth it if you need some helps. And I will also say don't underestimate the power of peer support, whether it's friends in your course, cultural clubs, or a mentor who understand what you're going through. That kind of connection can make a huge difference. I also think that organizations like Shapes and Sounds are really valuable. Just hearing stories from people who have been through it can help you feel less alone and more hopeful.
I mean, in terms of helpful resources and stuff, so something I did use back when I was at uni, so the uni counseling center, I did use that I think a couple of times. I did two different things in addition to the library job. One was about being an international student mentor. They had somebody support any new international students at least in the first couple of weeks or so, but then they have someone to go to, so which was really handy. And then I also worked at the International Student Center for a while. And so that was really cool because that was also, you could link with students, you could talk to them and those sorts of things. Most of the bigger unis will have an international student center. And so even just going there, having a chat with the people there, it's just that, building those connections these days, getting out of the uni environment, there are so many options to connect with people. I think a lot more than what probably was there back in the day. Meetup.com is one where you can go and try and meet people. I know Facebook has groups and stuff as well. If you find something based on your interest, it can also be useful to then connect with people.